What if I told you that one single laugh, one careless, cruel laugh would become the most career-shattering sound ever recorded inside a courtroom? A laugh that didn't come from a comedian or a teenager watching a viral video, but from a fully grown attorney in an $8,000 suit who believed he was too brilliant, too educated, too successful to ever face consequences. That is exactly what happened when 28-year-old defense lawyer Liam Bellingham, armed with arrogance, a luxury watch, and zero empathy, stepped into Judge Judy's courtroom thinking he owned the place. He had no idea that the next 15 minutes would detonate his career like a legal landmine. The story begins the moment Patricia Henderson enters the courtroom. She rolls forward in her wheelchair, her hands trembling slightly, not from fear, but from the weight of everything she's endured these past 8 months. Even the way she positions herself, gentle, precise, shows she is a woman who once organized classrooms, read bedtime stories, and shaped children's futures. And now she has to fight for something no teacher should ever fight for: basic dignity. Across the aisle sits Liam, lounging like he's waiting for his coffee order. He taps his Patek Philippe watch, glances toward the cameras, and smirks. To him, this isn't a case, it's an inconvenience. A chore. A PR mess he's been forced to clean up because his partners refuse to handle the fallout he created, and the fallout is volcanic. Judge Judy enters, and the room snaps to attention instantly except for Liam, who still hasn't looked up from his phone. When she catches him seated, the entire atmosphere shifts. You can almost feel the oxygen being sucked from the room as her stare locks onto him. Like a sniper sight. "Mr. Bellingham," she says, her voice slicing through the courtroom. "This is a courtroom, not your living room. Stand up." Finally, slowly, begrudgingly, he rises, wearing the expression of a man forced to obey a rule he believes doesn't apply to him. "My apologies, Your Honor," he says, dripping condescension. "I assumed this venue was less formal." People in the gallery exchange looks. Even the stenographer stops typing for a split second. Because if there's one thing you do not do, it's insult Judge Judy's courtroom, but Judy lets him hang himself. She pivots to Patricia. "Miss Henderson, tell me what happened that night." Patricia breathes deeply. You can see the memory tearing at her, but her voice doesn't waver. "I was driving home after parent-teacher conferences. I stopped at a red light on Flatbush. I remember thinking about my students, and then there was this impact so hard it felt like the world exploded. Every word hits like a punch." The gallery leans forward. Liam leans back. Patricia continues, her fingers tightening around the wheelchair. "I woke up 3 days later in the hospital. I couldn't move my legs. I kept trying to wiggle my toes, but nothing. And the doctor told me that I would never walk again." Her voice trembles, but she stays composed, a grace that only makes what happens next more shocking. "Judge." Judy turns to Liam. "Your client admitted fault." The cameras show him running the red light. Why did the insurance company deny her claim? And that's when the disaster begins. Liam rises with the confidence of a man who believes he is the smartest person in every room he enters. "Your Honor, we believe Miss Henderson's disability claims are exaggerated. Many plaintiffs rent wheelchairs to make their injuries appear more dramatic." Gasps ripple across the gallery. Judge Judy freezes. Slowly, very slowly, she removes her glasses. "Are you suggesting this woman is pretending to be paralyzed?" Liam nods, smiling. "In my experience, pain is easy to perform, Your Honor." Patricia looks like she's been stabbed. Her son grips the bench so hard his knuckles turn white. Even the insurance executive behind Liam blinks in horror. Judge Judy leans forward. "Miss Henderson, would you try to stand? Just so Mr. Bellingham can witness exactly what he is accusing you of." Patricia nods, wiping tears she didn't want anyone to see. And she tries. She grips the armrests. Sweat forms on her brow. Her entire upper body trembles with effort, but her legs don't move, not an inch. After 30 agonizing seconds, she collapses, crying, "I'm sorry. I can't. I'm trying." The courtroom is silent, dead silent, and then Liam laughs, not a loud laugh. Just a smug little chuckle. A dismissive snort. but it's enough to ignite the courtroom like gasoline. Patricia's son lunges to his feet. Audience members shout. Bailiff Bird rushes to block the chaos. Even the cameras shake because the cameraman is in disbelief. Judge Judy rises so fast her chair hits the wall. Clear the courtroom. Bailiff Bird sweeps the room with urgency. Chairs scrape. Doors slam. Within moments, the gallery is empty. Only Patricia, Liam, the insurance executive, the court staff, and a furious judge remain. Judge Judy stands at the bench, shaking with controlled anger. When she speaks, her voice is ice dipped in fire. In 30 years, Mr. Bellingham, never have I witnessed such cruelty from an officer of the court. You laughed at a disabled woman. You mocked her suffering. And you did it on camera. Liam's face strains of color. He tries to speak, but she cuts him off. Sit down. Not another word. He obeys. For the first time all day, he obeys. What follows is a silence so heavy it feels like the air itself refuses to move. Then Judy turns to Patricia. Her voice softens. Miss Henderson, no one should ever be treated the way you were today. Not in my courtroom. Not anywhere. Patricia nods through her tears. That moment, quiet, raw, devastating, is the moment everything changes. For Patricia, for Liam, for the insurance company, and for everyone watching, because what Judge Judy is about to do next will rewrite the entire meaning of courtroom justice. And Liam Bellingham has absolutely no idea what's coming. Asterisk, she didn't move at first. Her fingers curled around the edge of the witness stand, knuckles whitening, breath quickening as if she was suddenly drowning in air. Judge Judy's eyes never left her sharp, dissecting, unblinking. It was the kind of stare that peeled off every layer a person tried to hide behind. You heard me, Judge Judy repeated, her voice low but carrying the weight of the entire courtroom. Sit down. Emily finally lowered herself back into the chair, but her posture was stiff, almost mechanical, as if something inside her had cracked. People in the courtroom shifted, whispering behind hands, unsure whether to pity her or be terrified of what came next. For the first time since she had walked in, Emily's bravado looked like it had been scraped clean off her. Good, Judge Judy said. Now let's find out who you really are. Emily tried to look up but avoided Judy's eyes. There was a pale tremor in her jaw. She swallowed hard. Let's start with something simple, Judy continued. Your driver was slapped by someone? Who did the slapping? Asterisk, Emily exhaled sharply. How would I know? I was inside ordering smoothies. That's not what the report says. Judy lifted a page. It says you came out, yelled at the cashier about slow service. And then your friend, whose name you conveniently hadn't mentioned, hit the driver. Emily's lips pressed into a thin, miserable line, and yet, Judy continued, you're acting like this is all beneath you. As if you're doing us a favor by being here. As if the person who filed the case is somehow smaller than you. I didn't say that, Emily whispered. You didn't have to. Your tone, your behavior, your arrogance, they said it for you. Emily blinked fast as though trying to hide the sheen forming in her eyes. But Judge Judy wasn't someone you could fool with theatrics. She leaned forward, elbows on the bench. You want the truth? Judy asked. You're scared. Emily looked up sharply, anger resurfacing like a reflex. Scared of what? Asterisk, of what happens when no one cleans up your mess for you, Judy replied without hesitation. Of what happens when Daddy's influence doesn't reach through these walls. Of what happens when you finally have to be accountable. Emily's throat tightened visibly. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. Judy continued, voice steady. Your father is a senator? I know who he is. I've known people like him and people like you for decades. You believe consequences are suggestions. You believe respect is optional. And you believe the world works for you. That's not fair. Emily murmured. You want to talk about fair? Judy shot back. Tell me, was it fair when your friend hit a man for doing his job? Was it fair when your bodyguard threatened the cashier because your order was late? Was it fair when you walked away as if none of it involved you? Emily's jaw quivered. She looked away, blinking harder. Judy's voice softened, not gentle, but measured. You're not a bad person, but you are a careless one. And careless people can do a lot of damage. Silence spread through the room, settling heavy on everyone's shoulders. Asterisk. The plaintiff, a middle-aged driver with a bruised cheek, watched Emily quietly. There was no hatred in his eyes, only exhaustion, the kind of tiredness that comes from being stepped onto many times by people who act like life is a red carpet for them. Judy noticed. She pushed her glasses down slightly and looked at Emily. You see that man? She asked. Emily glanced toward him briefly, then looked down again. That's someone's father, Judy said. He works long hours to feed his family. He doesn't have security teams or private cars. He doesn't have senators for parents. And yet you treated him like he was disposable? Emily's breath hitched. I didn't tell anyone to hit him. Asterisk, but you didn't stop it either, Judy said. And in the real world, doing nothing is sometimes just as loud as doing the wrong thing. A tear fell from Emily's eye before she could hide it. She wiped it quickly, embarrassed. Judy didn't mock her. She didn't soften either. She simply said, Tell the truth, Emily, not the version your pride wants. The real one. Emily hesitated. Her fingers twisted together. She opened her mouth, closed it again, sucked in a shaky breath, and finally whispered, I didn't think it would matter. There it was, the confession, raw and fragile. Judge Judy leaned back slowly, her expression unreadable for a moment. Then she spoke with a calm firmness. It mattered to him, she said, nodding toward the driver. And it matters here. Emily wiped her face again, her voice breaking. I didn't mean for things to get so bad. I swear I didn't. Intent isn't magic, Judy replied. What matters is what actually happened. Emily's shoulders slumped, the fight draining out of her. I just wanted to get back before my dad called. He gets really strict when I'm late. My friends were rushing me. I wasn't thinking. Judy's tone softened only a fraction. You're not here because you're evil. You're here because you weren't thinking. And the moment you stop thinking, other people suffer for it. Emily sniffed, holding her breath like she was trying to stop any more words from spilling out. But something had already changed in her eyes, something small but real. Humility. For the first time, the courtroom wasn't a stage for her attitude. It was a place where she finally looked human. The driver watched her, then quietly said, I don't want money. I just want her to understand what she did. Judy nodded. And she will. Emily looked at him, ashamed. I'm sorry, really, I was stupid. I shouldn't have let them treat you like that. The man nodded once, accepting the apology silently. Judge Judy tapped her pen. We're not done. There are consequences. But for now, this is a start. Emily nodded, bracing herself, because she knew this was only the beginning of what she had coming. Asterisk. The courtroom felt heavier than before, as if the air itself had thickened around everyone. Emily sat frozen, cheeks still damp, eyes lowered but flickering with a mixture of fear, regret, and something she had never willingly shown in public: vulnerability. People watched her differently now, not with the same annoyance from earlier, but with a cautious curiosity, as if they were witnessing the cracking of a shell she had worn her whole life. Judge Judy shifted a file aside and clasped her hands. Emily, she said quietly, we're going to talk about the part you haven't mentioned. The part you're scared to bring up. Emily stiffened. I already told the truth. No, Judy replied. You told the safe truth. Not the whole one. A cold tremor passed through Emily, visible even from the back row. She swallowed hard. What else do you want me to say? Your father, Judy said simply. The name alone made Emily flinch as though she'd been struck. She closed her eyes briefly, her jaw trembling before she steadied herself enough to meet Judy's gaze again. He doesn't know I'm here, she whispered. Judy nodded slowly. That's obvious. If he did, there'd be a fleet of lawyers trying to tear this courtroom apart. Soft laughter rippled through the room. But Judy raised a hand and immediately restored silence. You didn't just ignore the situation because you didn't care. You ignored it because you were afraid of your father's reaction. Emily's breath caught. He's strict, okay? He wants everything perfect. He expects me to act a certain way, look a certain way, speak a certain way. If I mess up even a little, she stopped herself, eyes darting downward. You won't understand. I understand perfectly, Judy replied. Strict parents aren't the problem. Lack of backbone is. Emily flinched again. Stung but silent. You've been so afraid of disappointing him, Judy continued, that you've created a version of yourself you think he wants, a version that doesn't think for herself, doesn't stand up for anyone, doesn't take responsibility. That's why we're here. The words hit harder than any scolding Emily had ever received. She stared at the table, the muscles in her face tightening as if she were trying not to crumble again. The room waited. Even the plaintiff watched with softened eyes now. Asterisk. Judy tapped her pen lightly. Your father may be a senator, but he's not the one who gets judged today. You are, and the person sitting in front of me is not a villain. She's a scared kid who's been pretending to be something she's not. The tremble in Emily's breathing returned. She tried to speak, but her voice cracked. If this gets out, if he finds out, he'll think I embarrassed him. Maybe, Judy said. Or maybe he'll finally see you as a person instead of a picture-perfect project. Emily bit her lower lip, gripping the edges of the witness stand again, her knuckles whitening. You don't know him. Judy leaned in. And you don't know yourself. Those words sliced through her defenses. Emily blinked hard, a tear slipping out before she could wipe it away. Judy's voice softened just a fraction, barely noticeable if someone wasn't listening closely. Do you want to keep running from consequences your entire life, or do you want to finally grow up? That question didn't land like an insult, it sounded like a door opening. And for the first time, Emily looked like she was considering stepping through it, but before she could speak, the courtroom door swung open. Every head snapped toward the sound. A tall security officer rushed in, whispering urgently to the bailiff, who immediately stiffened and cleared his throat. Your Honor, the bailiff announced, there's someone outside who insists on entering. Judge Judy didn't look impressed. This is a courtroom, not a hotel lobby. Who is it? The bailiff hesitated. Senator Walsh, Your Honor. Emily's blood drained from her face so fast the color practically vanished. She grabbed the edge of the table, eyes wide, chest rising and falling in tiny panicked breaths. He's here, she whispered, voice cracking in sheer terror. Asterisk. The bailiff nodded. The room instantly erupted in murmurs. Reporters in the back straightened, sensing a story about to explode. The plaintiff looked stunned. Even the attorneys exchanged glances. Judge Judy raised her voice. Quiet. Instant silence. Emily's hands shook uncontrollably now. Please, please don't let him come in. I didn't call him. I swear I didn't. He already knows, Judy replied calmly. Someone told him. I'm dead, Emily whispered, panic rising in her throat. He's going to yell at me in front of everyone. He always does that when I mess up. Judy held up a hand. Stop. You need to breathe, or you'll faint. Emily sucked in a shaky breath, but it barely helped. Her body trembled like a frightened child, waiting for punishment. A moment later, the door opened again. Senator Walsh stepped inside. Asterisk. The room went dead silent. Not because he was powerful, but because of the expression on his face, a mixture of humiliation, controlled rage, and disappointment so sharp it could cut glass. Every step he took toward the bench felt like a hammer striking the floor. Emily lowered her head, her entire body curling inward like she wanted to disappear. Judy watched him calmly. Senator Walsh, this is a public courtroom. What's your purpose here? His voice was cold enough to chill bone. I'm here to take my daughter home. Emily winced at the icy tone. Judy shook her head. She's not done. She is done, he said through clenched teeth. I will handle the rest. Judy didn't move. With all due respect, you won't. In this room, you're not a senator. You're a parent. And your daughter is in the middle of a legal proceeding that you have absolutely no authority to interrupt. A ripple ran through the room. Senator Walsh took a step closer, but Judy's glare froze him mid-motion. You sit in the audience, she commanded. You do not approach the bench. and you do not speak unless I permit it. If that's a problem, the bailiff will escort you out." For the first time, the great senator looked powerless. He turned to Emily. "What did you do now?" Emily's voice came out, tiny, shaking. "Dad, please." But Judge Judy cut in. "No, she's not answering you." "She's answering me." Emily gulped, eyes filling again. Judy looked at her with firm clarity. "This is your moment, Emily. Are you going to let him speak for you again? Or are you going to finish what you started?" Emily looked between her father and Judge Judy, caught between fear and the faint spark of the person she wanted to be. Her breath trembled, and then slowly, shakily, she lifted her chin. "I'm going to finish," she whispered. The entire room held its breath. Even her father froze. Judge Judy gave a single approving nod. "Good, because we're not done yet." And with that, Emily turned back toward the bench, ready finally to face everything she had been running from. Emily tried to steady her breathing, but it felt like her ribs were tightening around her lungs. Her father's presence behind her burned like a spotlight she couldn't escape. She could feel his disappointment radiating through the room, pressing against her spine. For years, that weight had controlled every choice she made. But for the first time, she wasn't folding, not immediately, not instinctively. Judge Judy watched her carefully. "Emily, look at me." Emily forced her gaze up, eyes still glossy but no longer completely helpless. "Good," Judy said. "Now we continue." Senator Walsh shifted in the front row, barely concealing his irritation. But he remained silent, his jaw locked, hands clasped so tightly they turned pale. Judy turned a page. "We need to go back to what happened that day. Not the version you softened. The real version." Emily nodded slowly. "You said your father gets strict when you're late," Judy continued. "Is that why you were rushing?" Emily inhaled shakily. "Yes, I told my friends we needed to leave. They were teasing me, telling me I acted like a child running from a curfew. I didn't want to argue." "So you let them handle the argument for you?" Judy asked. A small wince crossed Emily's face. "Yes, and when that handling turned into violence, you froze?" Emily lowered her eyes. "Yes, why?" Emily's voice trembled. "Because I couldn't stop them. They don't listen to me. They listen to my father's name. They think being friends with me gives them protection." "So," Judy said carefully, "you surrounded yourself with people who treat you like a shield instead of a friend." The words cut deep enough that Emily's breath hitched again. But she nodded. "It wasn't always like that," she whispered. "But once my dad became senator, everyone's behavior changed. Suddenly everyone wanted something from me. Access, influence, a favor. A photo, a connection. I didn't know who really cared about me anymore." Judy studied her. "And instead of finding real friends, you kept the ones who benefited from you." Emily looked at the floor, shame crawling up her neck. "It was easier." "Easier doesn't mean better," Judy said. "In fact, easier is often the beginning of trouble." Emily nodded, blinking quickly. Judy continued. "The driver wasn't hurt badly, thank goodness. But that slap meant something. It meant your friends believed they could treat people however they wanted, because you would hide behind your father's name and let them." Emily swallowed. "I didn't want anyone hurt." "But you didn't step in," Judy said. Emily's throat tightened. "I know. Why?" Judy pressed softly. "Don't give me the easy answer. Give me the real one." Emily closed her eyes for a moment, gathering the courage she wasn't used to using. "Because I was afraid," she said finally. "Afraid that if I told them to stop, they'd laugh. Afraid they'd say I was weak. Afraid I'd look stupid. Afraid they wouldn't want me around anymore." She opened her eyes, tears slipping down. "And I was afraid that if my dad found out I caused trouble, he'd be disappointed in me again." Senator Walsh shifted sharply in his seat. "Emily." Judy shot him a glare sharp enough to cut steel. He fell silent. Judy turned back to Emily. "You see the problem now? You've been living in fear of your father, your friends, even yourself. You've been so busy avoiding consequences that you've never learned how to take responsibility." Emily nodded, the truth hitting her with painful clarity. "My whole life. she whispered, voice breaking. "I've never made a decision without thinking about who it would upset. I never wanted anyone to be angry. I didn't want to embarrass Dad. I didn't want my friends to call me dramatic. So I stayed quiet. Every time. Even when I knew something was wrong." Judy leaned forward. "Being quiet when wrong things happen makes you part of the problem." Emily's face crumpled. "I know." "No," Judy said. "You're just realizing it. And that's why this moment matters." The room stayed utterly still. Even her father, who had always controlled every room he stepped into, sat powerless, forced to watch as his daughter unraveled the truth of her life for the first time. Judy rested her hands again. "You're young, Emily, but if you keep living like this, letting fear shape your choices, you're going to spend your whole life apologizing for things you never meant to happen." Emily wiped her cheeks with shaking fingers. "I don't want that." "Good," Judy said firmly. "Then start with this case. Finish this honestly." Emily nodded, steadying herself. Judy continued. "What happened after your friend hit the driver?" Emily hesitated, then exhaled. "I told them we needed to leave. They laughed about it. One of them even said he shouldn't stand so close to a senator's daughter. They thought it was funny." Judy's eyebrows rose. "And you?" "I didn't laugh," Emily said softly. "I just wanted to get out of there. I wanted the whole thing to disappear." "And that," Judy said, "is the problem. You wanted it to disappear instead of fixing what you allowed." Emily's face reddened. "I know, and I'm sorry, truly." Judy turned toward the plaintiff. "Does that apology mean something to you?" The man studied Emily for a long time. She couldn't meet his eyes at first, but when she finally did, she didn't look away. "I believe her," he said quietly. Emily's breath shook in relief. But Judy wasn't finished. "Emily," she said, "your apology is a start, not the end. Now comes the hard part. Your actions need consequences." Emily nodded without hesitation this time. "I'm ready." Her father stood abruptly. "Absolutely not." "She will not." "Sit down," Judy snapped. "Your daughter is finally growing up. Don't ruin the moment." Senator Walsh slowly, reluctantly sat. Emily looked at him, then at Judy, then at the plaintiff. Something had shifted inside her. She wasn't shaking the way she was before. She wasn't shrinking. She wasn't hiding. She was facing it. Judy folded her hands. "Emily, you will provide restitution to the plaintiff. You will issue a formal written apology, and you will attend a civics responsibility workshop. Additionally, you will publicly denounce the behavior of your friends and clarify your role in the incident." Emily nodded. "I'll do all of that." "You will not," her father said sharply. "This family does not make public statements without approval." Emily looked at him for a long moment. Then she shook her head. "For once," she whispered, "I'm not going to do what you want. This is my mistake, and I'm fixing it." Her father's eyes widened in shock, maybe anger, maybe disbelief, maybe the first flicker of respect, but he didn't speak. The room watched. Stunned silent, Judge Judy gave a single nod. "That," she said, "is the first adult choice you've ever made." And for the first time since the hearing began, Emily looked like she agreed. Emily felt the room settle into an eerie silence, the kind that happens right before a storm breaks. But for once she wasn't scared of the thunder. She wasn't hiding behind her father's shadow or her friends' loud personalities. She sat tall, breathing deeply, grounding herself in a reality she had always avoided, one where she stood on her own. Judge Judy leaned back in her chair, studying her as if seeing a completely different person from the girl who'd walked into the courtroom earlier, dripping with entitlement and fake confidence. Now, Emily looked stripped of every shield she had ever used, raw, honest, and strangely strong. Her father shifted again, his jaw tight. He wasn't used to being sidelined. He wasn't used to being powerless, and certainly not used to watching his daughter make decisions without his permission. "Let's finish this," Judy said. Emily nodded. The plaintiff, Mr. Cranston, watched her with an expression that had softened considerably. He no longer looked like a man wronged, but like a man watching a child learn something painful and necessary. Judy placed her hands on the bench. "Emily, Your acceptance of responsibility is commendable. But you need to understand something very important. The consequences aren't punishment, they're lessons. And you're going to follow through. Every part of it. I will, Emily said quietly. Senator Walsh whispered harshly. Emily, think about what you're saying. Public statements? Workshops? Do you have any idea what this can do to our family's image? Emily turned her head slightly, meeting his stare without flinching. Her eyes were trembling but steady. Dad, maybe our image isn't the most important thing right now. Her father blinked, actually blinked like she had spoken a foreign language. Judge Judy lifted her chin. Senator Walsh, your daughter is finally learning something you should have taught her years ago, accountability. He bristled. I taught her— No, Judy cut in sharply. You taught her obedience? That's not the same thing. The impact of that line rippled across the room. Emily's breath shook, but she didn't look down. Not this time. Her father tried again. You don't understand the pressure. I understand perfectly, Judy said. But what you don't understand is that pressure doesn't disappear when you hide from it. It only gets heavier. Emily closed her eyes for a moment, letting those words sink in. When she opened them again, she looked at the plaintiff. I'm sorry for everything, she said. For not stopping my friends. For acting like none of it mattered. For thinking I could walk away and pretend I had nothing to do with it. I didn't want to face consequences because I never had to. But that was wrong. You didn't deserve what happened? Mr. Cranston nodded. Thank you. That means more than you think. Emily's voice cracked. I wish I could undo it. You can't, he said gently. But you can choose what you do next. Emily exhaled shakily and nodded. **. Judy tapped her gavel softly. Not a ruling yet, just focus. I'll finalize the judgment shortly. But before I do, Emily, I want to hear you say something. Not for me, for yourself. Emily looked up, confused. Judy leaned forward, eyes piercing. What have you learned? Emily swallowed. The courtroom watched her like she was on a stage she never wanted but needed. I learned. She began slowly, that being silent isn't harmless. That fear doesn't protect you, it traps you. That having privilege doesn't mean you get to misuse it, and that responsibility doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. She paused, her voice softening. And I learned that I've been hiding behind people instead of being myself. I thought I needed to be perfect for my dad, or strong for my friends, or confident for strangers. But I don't even know what I want. Not really. I've never made a choice that was mine alone. Her voice broke on the last words. But I want to start now. Her father inhaled sharply, but for once he didn't interrupt. He looked almost stunned, maybe even moved. Maybe it was the first time he'd heard his daughter speak her mind, instead of parroting what she thought he wanted. Judge Judy nodded slowly. That's the beginning of something good. The plaintiff wiped his eye discreetly, touched by the sincerity he saw in the girl who had walked in earlier, like she owned the world. Judy continued. This isn't going to be easy for you, Emily. People will talk. Reporters will twist things. Your friends might disappear. Your father may not agree with anything you just said. Emily stole a glance at him. He stared straight ahead, expression tight and unreadable. But, Judy added, that's how change works. You lose the wrong people before you find the right ones. Emily's eyes welled again, but she nodded with conviction. Judy finally picked up the case file. As for the official judgment, restitution to the plaintiff, completion of a responsibility program, mandatory apology, and public acknowledgement of your involvement. She raised an eyebrow. Do you accept this judgment fully and without objection? Emily didn't even hesitate. Yes, her father half rose from his seat. Emily, she turned toward him, not aggressively, not fearfully, just firmly. Dad, she said quietly. I said yes. He froze mid-motion, and slowly, the reality washed over him. His daughter wasn't the same person anymore. Judge Judy spoke again. Case settled. She struck the gavel sharply, a sound like finality, but also like beginning. Emily felt her heart thudding wildly. But this time, there was no panic. No dread, only Clarity. Mr. Cranston walked up as the courtroom began to stir. Emily stood politely, shoulders tense. He extended his hand. Good luck, kid. Emily looked at his hand, then up at him. Thank you for giving me a chance to be better. He smiled softly. Just make sure you take it. She shook his hand, then stepped back. Her father approached her next, but his footsteps were slower, more uncertain than ever in his political career. Emily, he said quietly. She braced herself, but instead of anger, instead of disappointment, instead of the cold judgment she expected, he sighed, a heavy, tired sigh. You surprised me today, he said. Voice low. Emily blinked. You disobeyed me, he continued, but maybe that wasn't the worst thing. Her chin trembled. Dad. He hesitated, then placed a hand awkwardly, stiffly on her shoulder. Like he didn't quite know how to be soft, but he was trying. I don't want you to be perfect, he said quietly. I just want you to be strong. Emily's breath caught, stunned by the unfamiliar gentleness. I'm trying, she whispered. And for the first time, he nodded, not with authority, but with understanding. We'll talk, he said softly. Not as senator and daughter, but as father and daughter. Emily nodded, wiping a tear that fell too quickly to hide. Judge Judy watched them from the bench, a small, satisfied smile tugging at the corner of her mouth. Not soft, not indulgent, but proud. A young girl had walked in spoiled. A young woman was walking out accountable. Emily took one last look at the courtroom, the walls that stripped her of excuses. The judge who broke her shield, the man she hurt and apologized to, and then she walked toward the door. Shoulders straighter, steps steadier, heart clearer. The world outside wasn't going to be easy. But at least, for the first time, she wasn't hiding from it.